Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Savannah and in today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to make this crochet top, which is perfect for festivals and for summer, and it's got this beautiful lace mesh design at the bottom. So I'll be teaching you how to make this. It's definitely beginner friendly and I would recommend knowing some of the basic stitches before trying to do this tutorial, and once you know them you're definitely ready to make this top. Let's get on to the video. So to make this top I'm using this 4mm crochet hook, and I'm using these two balls of yarn from Hobbycraft, and they're both 50 grams and these are in size 4mm as well. So to start this top I've slip knotted onto my hook, and we're going to be chaining the amount of chains we need. We need to measure half of our cup vertically. So this for me is 12 chains, and you can measure this by putting the amount of chains up to your cup size. Remember to do these quite loose, as you don't want your cup bunching up at the end. So now that I've done 12 chains, I'm going to do one extra chain, as we're going to miss this when we go and do our first row. So now I'm going to prepare for a single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into that second stitch from the hook and do a single crochet. We're going to put a single crochet in each of these stitches back up this row. So if you don't know how to do a single crochet, you insert your hook, pull through, you've got 2 loops on your hook, wrap round and then pull through all 2. Once we've reached the end of this first row, we're going to chain 1, and this end here where our tail is going to be our flat side, and we're not going to do any increases into that side. So we're chaining 1, doing a single crochet into the first chain, and then we're just going to keep single crocheting up until you reach the top stitch, and I'll be back then to show you how to do increases. So I've got 1 stitch left now, and I'm going to be doing 3 single crochets into this last stitch to create our first increase. 1, 2 and 3, and then we're going to continue like normal down this side. So I'm going to insert my hook into that next stitch. It might be a bit trickier to get your hook through as you've only got 1 loop, and then we're just going to continue all the way down. Once I've finished that row, I'm going to flip my work and then chain 1, and we're going to continue to single crochet down this side. So remembering this side is our flat side and we only do increases on one side. So when we get to the top, into this middle stitch, we'll be doing our 3 increases. So that's the same as doing 3 single crochet. Once I've reached this middle stitch in the top here, I'm going to be doing 3 single crochets into there. So you need to make sure this is the middle stitch, so it creates some symmetry in your work. So there we are, I've done my 3 single crochets, and then I'm going to do a single crochet into that next stitch and continue down this row. So to repeat this pattern, we're going to be chaining 1, and remembering this is our flat side where we don't do any increases. I'm going to single crochet into that first stitch and then continue to single crochet up this row. So for this whole cup, all we're going to be doing is just repeating this pattern until you reach your desired size. So I'm going to be single crocheting up this row. When I reach this middle stitch, doing an increase of 3, so single crocheting 3 times and then single crocheting back down here, flipping my work, chaining 1 and doing the same thing. So for your cup, you don't want to make it too big, as we're going to be doing a shell border around the outside, so it either needs to be a bit too small or around the right size, so it's not too big. So we're going to be starting by chaining 2, and then we're going to do 7 half double crochets into that second stitch from the hook. So wrap round, insert, pull through, wrap round and then pull through all 3, and we're doing this 7 times. 7. So now to make sure that this shell is back to the surface, we're going to be doing a single crochet into that second stitch from the hook. So there we are, and we've got our first shell. Now 7 half double crochets into that third stitch along. 7. Now into the second stitch from the hook, we're going to be doing a single crochet. And this is what your 2 shells should look like so far. And then we're doing a single crochet into that second stitch away from the hook. So here we've got our 3 shells around the border, and this is what it should look like. So I've managed to fit 4 shells into this right hand side. Now I've done my last shell was on the top here, and we're going to continue doing the same thing down the side. So I'm going to do 7 half double crochets into the second stitch from the hook, and then once I've done that, I'm going to single crochet into the second stitch from the hook. So I've completed my first cup and I've got 4 shells on each side. Now I'm going to be cutting off my yarn and tying it, and then I'll be meeting you after I've done 2. I've just finished my second cup and I've kept my yarn attached to the second cup. Now to join them together, you can decide how many chains you want in between them. So for me, I only need 1 little one, as they fit quite well together, just like this. So I'm going to chain 1, insert my hook into the other side, then I'm going to wrap round, pull through both loops on my hook and chain 1. And then I'm going to single crochet inside anywhere in the cup, just to make sure that it's secured. Then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to cut my yarn. Now we're going to be starting to create the next bottom portion of this top. So I'm going to insert my hook into the second stitch upwards, and I'm going to do a slip knot to attach the yarn. And now that that yarn is attached, I'm going to flip my work. So I'm working down this side. As there's no proper stitches, we're just going to try and fit the right amount of single crochet all the way down. So I'm just going to put a single crochet into each hole and make sure that there is a good amount, not too crowded or not too little amount. And we're just going to make it look neat and tidy. So I've finished this row of single crochet and I've chained 1. Now we're doing a row of double crochet. So I'm going to chain another 2 to count as our first double crochet, then double crochet into every single stitch down the row. So we're going to be changing the stitch with every row to make it look very creative and unique. So now I'm going to be adding on a mesh stitch after this row of double crochet. So I'm going to be chaining 4 to start off with. And this just gets the height of the mesh stitch. Now I'm going to be doing a double crochet into the second stitch from the hook. So into there, 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 1, miss a stitch, and then double crochet into that next stitch. I'm going to chain 1, miss a stitch, double crochet into that next stitch, chain 1, miss a stitch and double crochet into that next stitch. I'm just going to keep carrying on this pattern all the way down this row until we reach the end. I've just finished this mesh stitch and this is what it should look like. Now we're going to be chaining 3, and for this row we are doing another row of just double crochet all the way down. So I'm going to double crochet into that first stitch and then double crochet all the way down here. I've nearly finished this double crochet row, and for the next row we're also going to be doing another mesh stitch, which is slightly different to the first mesh stitch we did. And there we go, there's that double crochet row done, and this is what it should look like so far. So you've got your single crochet row, your double crochet row, your mesh stitch, and then your double crochet row. So to start the next mesh stitch, we're going to be chaining 3, then we're going to do a double crochet into that first stitch. So we're not going into the second one, we're just going to go straight into the first one with a double crochet. Like that. And then we're going to chain 1 and miss 1 stitch and then double crochet into that next stitch. And we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. So you've got 2 double crochets, 1 chain, 2 double crochets, chain 1 again, and then miss 1, double crochet into the next one, and then another double crochet. So we're doing 2 double crochets and then chaining 1, and we are keeping this pattern for the rest of this row. And this is what it looks like from this angle. So for this next row, I'm going to be chaining 1 and then doing a row of single crochet all the way down here till we've reached the end. So once I've done single crochets all the way down this row, we're going to be making some loops. So I'm going to start by chaining up 4, and this creates our first loop. Then we're going to be single crocheting into the 3rd stitch from our hook. So there we've got 1 loop. We're going to repeat this. So we're going to be chaining 4, 3 and 4, and then we're going to be doing a single crochet into that 3rd stitch away from the hook. Chain 4, and then do a single crochet into that 3rd stitch from the hook, and it creates this loop pattern. And I'll meet you back at this very last stitch because this stitch is a bit different. So now I'm on my last stitch and I've only got 3 stitches left. So I'm going to chain 2 and then double crochet into the last stitch, and this just sets it up for our next row. So the next row is actually another row of loops. So I'm flipping my work, and then we're going to be also chaining 4 on this row. 3 and 4. Now we're going to do a single crochet into this second loop. So into the actual hole of the loop. Then we're going to chain 4 and then single crochet into the second loop. Chain 4 and make sure to actually go inside the whole loop, and just keep going, and I'll come back for the last stitch because it's a bit different like the last one was. So I've single crocheted into my last loop. Now what we're going to be doing is double crocheting in this end section. So that makes the height for the next row. So this is what it should look like so far. And you've got your 2 loop rows. So for the next thing we need to do is find the very middle stitch on our work. So go down from this middle bit and I'd say mine is this one here. My stitch marker for my middle stitch, I've just put a bit of a different colour yarn inside. So I've also marked the stitches that are in the middle of these. So for mine it has 4, 4, and then these are both 3 on the edges. So it doesn't have to be perfect, just around in the middle. So we're now going to be working on the fan design. So to start this row, I am chaining 4, going to be doing a single crochet into that next loop. And then I'm going to be chaining 4 again. But this row is where our stitch marker is, so I'm going to take this stitch marker out, and then I'm going to be putting 7 double crochet into that loop. So once we've got our 7 double crochet, we're going to do a single crochet into that next stitch, so into the whole loop. And now we're going to be chaining 4 again. And then single crocheting into the next whole loop. Chaining 4. And a single crochet into the next loop. So it should look like this so far. And now we're going to be chaining 4 again until we reach this next stitch marker. So I'm going to do a single crochet, chain 4, and now we're going to do 7 double crochets into this place where the stitch marker was. Now I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch after you've done your 7 double crochets into that place where the stitch marker was. Now I'm going to chain up 4 and just repeat this pattern by single crocheting into the next loop and chaining 4, single crocheting into each of these loops, and then where the stitch marker is, do 7 double crochets, single crochet into the next one, and then chain 4 and single crochet into the last loop. So for this second row of the same design, we're going to be chaining 1, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into this first double crochet stitch that we did before, which is the first one out of the 7. So I'm double crocheting there, then I'm chaining 1 and double crocheting into the next stitch. Then I'm chaining 1 and double crocheting into the next stitch, chaining 1, double crocheting into the next, and so on. Now I've got 7, I'm going to be single crocheting into that next loop, and then chain 4 and a single crochet into the next loop, chain 4 and single crochet into the next loop, and we're going to be doing this until we reach the first stitch of our fan. So I've reached this stitch, I've chained 4, and I'm going to double crochet into that first stitch, chaining 1, double crocheting into that next stitch, chaining 1 and double crocheting into that next stitch, and continue doing this until you've finished on the fan. So now I've done these 2 fans, this is what it should look like. I'm going to be single crocheting into that loop straight after this fan, and then chaining 4, and then continuing this pattern. So we're going to be single crocheting into that next stitch, chaining 4, single crocheting into that next stitch, and chain 4 and double crochet into the first stitch of this fan here, chain 1 double crochet into the next loop of the fan, chain 1, double crochet into the next loop, chain 1, double crochet into the next loop, and so on. So this is the last row. You could choose to leave it like this, or you could choose to do the frills on the next row. So I'm going to be chaining 1, and then we're going to jump straight to this fan bit, and I'm going to be single crocheting 3 times into this first gap. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to be chaining 3, and then single crocheting 3 times into this next stitch. So I'm going to be chaining 3, and then into this next gap, single crocheting 3 times. Chaining 3, and then into that next loop, single crocheting 3 times. Near the end of this row, and I've even done the chain 3 and 3 single crochets into these stitches as well, so the loops as well as the fans, and it just creates this nice frilly texture. So now I'm at the end nearly. I'm going to be chaining 3, single crocheting 3 times, and then chaining 3, and then 1 double crochet into this very last chain, and then you can chain 1 and you can cut your yarn. So for the last bit of this top, we're going to be adding on straps. So to make these, I'm going to insert my hook into this middle stitch here. So I'm going to look where my first line of single crochets were and follow it up so it's around here. And I'm going to stick my hook in a bit lower so it's more secure. And I'm going to insert it with a slip knot, and then a single crochet just to make it very secure. And now we're just going to be chaining up as many as you need. So the back of these straps are going to be adjustable lace-up straps. So just need to chain these 2 very long straps, so 1 here and then 1 here. I normally chain about 100 for these straps, as I do them quite loose so they can be pulled and tightened or adjusted at the back. So now I'm going to make my second chain. I'm going to insert my hook into this middle stitch here with a slip knot, and then a single crochet a bit further down to ensure it won't come out. Then I'm going to start chaining, and you can line this up with the other just to make sure you've got enough. So keep doing this until you reach your desired length. So now I've reached the length that I want, I'm just going to cut my yarn and then chain 1 and just pull tight, and then you can cut this tail off. So we are actually all done now. I'm going to flip my work, as this is the front of my work, so we need to go to the back of it. You can cut off any loose ends later, or you can weave them in. Now I'm going to be lacing it up, and these straps are going to go over your shoulders to the back and tie through here. So we can insert it through one of them gaps there. And then the same with this strap. So this is going to come over the shoulder and over to this side. and then they're going to go into the very end of this fan stitch. Pull that through, and then the same on this side, into there, and then you can tie a bow at the bottom and you're all done. So this is what this beautiful top looks like. So I'd just like to let you know that I am selling this top and a few other tops on my Vinted account, which I will leave a link to in the description box, so you can go and check that out. If you have any recommendations for other tutorials that you'd like to see, I'd be very grateful if you could leave them in the comments. I hope to see you in another video, and thank you for watching.